Assalamualaikum. Here is our sprint 3 backlog in Jira. Our sprint 3 consists of two main modules: event participation and feedback form module and volunteer recruitment module. First of all, for the event participation feedback form module, we have source story, allow student to browse and filter events. That is done by Mohammed Mahjoub, and we have allow student to register for those events. That is done by Mohammed Mahjoub also. And then we have allow student to submit feedback form for events. That is done by Masaba, and we have allow organizer heads to review the registrants and feedback response for those events. That's also done by Masaba. And for the volunteer recruitment model, first of all, allow organizer heads to add a volunteer position for their events. That is done by Lina, and then allow student to apply for open volunteer position events. That is done by me, Taqwa. And after that, allow organizer heads to review those volunteer positions applications. That is done by Lina, and allow student to view and filter their volunteer application stats. That is done by me, Taqwa. And also we have the tags. First of all, we have the design sprint 3 screen in Figma. That is done by Lina, and set up the sprint 3 folder structure and navigation. That is done by Lina also. And then set up Stripe payment service for the event registration fee. That is done by Mohammed Mahjoub, and set up the Grok API for the event feedback summary. That is done by Masaba. This is all the task. And also here we have the task that is done by Taqwa, me, to revise the sprint 3 follow and final testing. And for the bugs, we have for the fixed volunteer application deadline validation. That is done by Lina, and to fix the duplicated volunteer data layering causing inconsistent student flow and error in the first store. That is done by me, Taqwa. And Gemini API key show. This is done by Masaba, this bug. And fix the volunteer application limit. That is a bug done by me, Taqwa. And the QRMC not displaying in the feedback form. That is done by Masaba. And to fix additional feedback, to add additional feedback and suggestion question in the form. That is done by Masaba. And also here, the last bug, we have the fix a crash when confirming volunteer application rejection. That is done by Lina.
Doctor, so I'm going to be doing the demo of this sprint with my friend Taqwa. Taqwa will demo the payment feature of this sprint. So first we have the user stories, which are allow students to browse and filter events, and then allow students to register for events, and then also the payment feature, all done by Ahmed Mahjoub. So first let us log in as students. So we will go to the event section, and obviously all our pages can be translated into Malay. So here we have the filtering feature, as we can see, and also we have the search feature. So for example, this one, we can also search by food. And so let us register for this event. So this event is free, so it will not ask us for payments. We can register now, and now I can choose my faculty and register. As you can see, I'm registered to my events.
This is have the fee to register on it. For example, faculty of computing and continue payment. And this is done by Ahmed Mahjoub with the strip. So confirm and continue paying. So I'm going to add the payment information here. So registration successful. So now we are registered in this event.
If I go back and then view the events again, I can see my registered events, and also I can filter them and also search, for example, by, for example, Maya. As we can see here, it shows here. Okay. So after a student registers their event, the organizer should be able to view all the students registered for the event, which is this user story. Okay, so it is done by Mathaba, by me. So if we log in as the club organizer here, and we go to the feedback and registration, we have this tab. We have to select the current event. So this is the event we actually registered for right now. Oh no, this is the one we registered for actually. So we can see Amr is registered and Salsabil is already registered, and we can also change it into Malay. Okay, now I'm gonna demo the next user stories. I will first explain them and show who it's assigned to. So first we're gonna allow the organizer to add volunteer position, which is done by Lina here. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back and then allow the student to apply to volunteer position, which is done by Taqwa here. Okay. Then I'm going to allow the organizer to view the volunteer application, which is done by Lina as well. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and allow the student to view and filter the application status, which is also done by Taqwa. Okay, so first I'm still logged in as the club organizer, as we can see here. So I'm going to go to volunteer positions, and I'm going to create for the same event we just registered for. So let's go and add new position. So those are the fields. I'm going to fill them and then explain them. Okay. Okay, so the fields are straightforward actually. As we can see, role name, description, requirements, and number of volunteers, and the deadline. So if I save the position, it gives us a confirmation message, because if we add this, it cannot be deleted or edited. So we can save the position. Okay, and then I'm going to go back as a student and show the application there. Okay, I'm going to log in as the student again, and I'm going to see the position it shows there. So volunteer positions, I can choose I can see here logistics team, I can apply. So the faculty is for example computing, and then maybe IEEE events. Okay, and then I should confirm my availability, and it shows me the event date and the time. So submit application. Okay, and then back to positions. Obviously here I can view my applications. I'll come back to this again, but so I'm back again here as the club organizer, as we can see. Okay, and I'm going to log in, and then I'm going to see the application of the student who just logged in, who just applied. So if I will view all the volunteer applications for this event, okay, which is, for example, we can see here for the logistics team, which is Amr, I can view them, and I can, for example, approve this one. So it can show up the Amr there. And also I have a filtering feature here, as we can see, for the approved or the rejected. Okay, I'm going to go back and log in as Amr. So I'm logged in again as Amr, and I'm going to go here to the volunteer positions. So this is my applications, and I can see the logistics team is now approved, and I can see all my applications that have been rejected or approved. Okay. So the next and last features are the allow students to submit the feedback form, which is done by me, Mathaba, and also allow the organizer heads to view the registration and view the feedback, and AI summary, which was also done by me, and also I did the backend for it. So here I'm still logged in as Amr, so let us check all the feedback. Okay, the feedback for the events that I'm registered, and the event should be ended before it shows up here. So here we can see all the events that all the feedback, the pending feedbacks, and there's a filter here, but actually because we only have for less than a day, this is what shows. So we also have a badge. Each feedback form is open for only 3 days. So now it shows because it's less than 1 day, it shows by hours, and this is still open by 1 day. So let us do the feedback for this one. I'm just gonna fill the fields and then explain them. Okay, so the fields are straightforward actually, and here are additional questions, and this is the UTM merit. It could show as link and QR as we did in Sprint 2. So if I submit the feedback, okay, the feedback is submitted. I should, okay, the event now should not be in the event feedback because it's already submitted. They can submit it only once. So now I'm gonna log in as the club organizer and show what shows in their part. So now if I log in as the club organizer, and then I go to the feedback and registration form, obviously I can see this is the event, all the registrants. So I have 11 registrants, and for the feedback I filled actually more than one student, but I can see all their feedback here. I can see and the response rate and the average rating and the total responses. So this is the AI group7 summary. Every time a student adds a new feedback, it should refresh to a new summary, which we will test now. So first, let's test now with what we have already. So we can see here the overall sentiment of the event was generally positive. Most students satisfied. One student raised one concern. As we can see, only one student raised one concern. So the AI summary is accurate. So now I'm gonna go test another student, and I'm gonna give a specific feedback, and I'm going to see if the AI actually shows it here. So here I'm gonna log in as this student now, which has not filled the feedback yet, and I'm going to give a specific feedback. Okay, I'm going to make this fast a bit. Okay. Okay, we can see this is the specific feedback. We'll see if Grok will actually catch this feedback. So let's submit the application. Okay, and then I'm gonna log in as the club organizer again. Okay, now I'm gonna log in as the organizer again. Okay, I'm gonna view all the events for this event. Then the feedback. As you can see, the response rate increased because I added one more person, and this is the person that I added. Okay, so let's see if the AI summary changed. So we can see that the AI summary did change because we see poor organization was added, which is what we actually just built. So that means the AI summary is working as long as the new students add more feedback. Okay.
Here the comments we done for Sprint 3. First, one of the major comments is the add Stripe payment service for the event registration. So Ahmed Mahjoub adds all the required fields, and the event registration controller and the browser event, and implement the student volunteer application flow that is done by me, Taqwa. The screens, the model, and the repository, and the status down here. And the students submit for the feedback form for their event that is done by Mathaba. The screens for the feedback form, the list, and the successful, and also the validation file. And also allow organizer head to review the registrants and the feedback responses, organization selection, and to review volunteer applications that is done by Lena. Add the review application and review application screen and volunteer event select screen and the localization file and all. And also add a volunteer position creation form pop-up that is done by Lena. And also we have a fixed bug that is done by Methaba. And also we have the crash event, fix rejection crash that is done by Lena, which is a bug that is corrected by Lena. That's all.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. So I'm going to explain the feature section for Sprint 3. So for Sprint 3, we added 2 new packages to the system. So we can see here it's package 5 and package 6. So package 5, which is the event participation and feedback module, and package 6 which is the volunteer recruitment module. Package 5 covers use cases 11 to 14, and package 6 covers use cases 15 to 18. Okay. Okay, so here for the function requirements, we see that Sprint 3 added 20 function requirements. We had 24 and now we have 44. Okay, so function requirement 25 to 44, as we see. Most of are must have actually, but the AI summary for Ngok are could have, but we ended up doing it anyway, as you can see here. Okay, after Gemini had quota issues. Okay, for Sprint, we can see for the function requirements that Sprint 3 added 20 function requirements. Initially we had 25, as you can see here. It stopped at 25, but now 24, and now we have 44 function requirements. All of them, or most of them, are must have. Some of them are should have, with the AI summary one as could have, but we ended up doing it anyway. Okay, now for the use case list, each one of us had 2 use cases. We added 8 use cases for this sprint. Okay, so Ahmed handled the browsing and event registration, use case 11 and 12, including the Stripe payment integration for paid events. My use cases were use case 13 and 14. Use case 13 to allow the students to submit event feedback forms, and use case 14 to view the event feedback and registration. And also I added the AI generated summary provided by Grok APIs. So use case 15 and use case 16 were done by Alina, which is adding a volunteer position and reviewing the applications, and use case 17 and 18 are by Taqwa, review volunteer applications and view volunteer application status. Okay, for the use case diagram for Sprint 3, we can see it is split into two modules, event participation and volunteer recruitment. So we can see here we have cross dependencies between the sprints. So for example, for adding volunteer position, there it has to include manage event details because there has to be an event first for us to add the volunteer position. And here the includes as well are straightforward. To apply for a volunteer position, there has to be a volunteer position added first and so on. We also notice we have two external systems, which are a Stripe sandbox, which is connected to use case 12, register for an event because if there's a paid event, they need to pay, and Grok API, which is connected to view event feedback registration because the organizer head presses refresh, which triggers Grok API.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Mahmoud. I'll be talking about our test report for Sprint 3. This sprint involved 8 use cases. The first use case, which is use case 11, have been integrated by need house events. I implemented 4 test cases here. All of them were successful to verify listing like system display, all the approved and open events, and all of these test cases have been successful. Use case 12 also have been implemented by Mia and Mahdoub, which is registered for an event. I performed 7 tests here. All of them were successful. And the system student can successfully register for an event, and also events required payment, so they can successfully pay for the event, entering bank credentials, and all the rest were also successful. Use case 13 have been implemented by Mataba. Mataba performed 13 test cases on this use case, which is view event feedback. In this use case, Mataba performed 13 test cases. Majority was successful, and the feedback only shows from the student on the events it registered in, and that event did have been passed. And the form disappeared after 3 days, and the meeting for stars and student campaign, the event in stars. And all of majority was successful until the Mataba encountered a bug in test case 8, verifying an additional feedback or suggestion question was incorrectly rendered as star rating. This because all built-in questions were passed on the same filter section card method, which rendered all the question at star rating regardless of the type. And Mataba have fixed this bug in the retest, and any additional feedback or suggestion question was rendered as text input text here. Another moderate bug Mataba has faced is verify UTM to our merit image was not displayed in student feedback form. This is because the QR code URL and link fields were retrieved from the feedback on stored the document, but nobody displayed them in the feedback screen. And in Redis, Mataba have also used this bug. The rest were successful. Use case 14 have been implemented by Mataba also view event feedback by the organizer head. Mataba performed 9 test cases. All of them were successful, and the organizer can view events selection screen showing only the events, and the registered students can follow the event also they can see. And the API summary generates summary also very clear step. Mataba left also a note here that we intended to use Google Gemini API first, but we used Grok API because of the quota restrictions or the limits on the Gemini API. Use case 15 have been made by Ina, which is add volunteer positions by the organizer here. So Ina performed 7 test cases. Majority was successful, and organizer can add successfully add volunteer positions. Lina have encountered a major bug here when she provides system prevents organizer head from setting an application deadline that is on or after the event date, and she fixed this bug in the retesting here, and the system now prevents organizer from setting application deadline on or after the event date. The rest was successful. Use case 16 had been implemented by Taqwa. Taqwa performed 3 test cases here for students to apply for the volunteer positions. Students can submit volunteer applications successfully with no bug encountered. Use case 17 implemented by Lina. Lina performed 10 test cases here. Majority were successful. This use case is review volunteer applications by the organizer head, and a majority was successful. No, the organizer head can successfully approve pending application, and he can reject also. And also about here, Lina encountered major bug also when she tried to verify that when a position approved application reaches the maximum number of volunteers needed, since the position as full, automatically rejects every remaining application. This was a logical issue related to the approval status, and Dina fixed this bug in the retesting, and the rest of the test cases were successful. The last test cases have been performed in use case 18, which have been implemented by Taqwa. All of them were successful, and this use case is view volunteer application status by students, and it was successful. For the releases, release 3 or version 3 or other application, this release involved 8 use cases from use case 11 browser event, again use case 18, view application, volunteer application status, event participation and feedback, and volunteer recruitment. These have been the functionality involved in this release. In this release, we have been working on several work items distributed among the team members, and all of them were done and successful.
So for the discussion we actually had a lot of discussion in this sprint because it was a lot. So I will explain some things here and some things in the problem solving in more detail, of course. So for example, this first task, design sprint 3 screens for event participation and volunteer requirement. So we can see that I did this screening on for them, but I told them that can we have a meeting to confirm the changes, and indeed we had a meeting that went smoothly, and we reviewed some things. I changed them, so we may start now. This was a meeting held by all of us, and then we can see the setup sprint 3 folder structure and navigation. So I told them that I did this task already, so we can all reuse this to avoid conflict. They started already with it. We can see for setup start payment service for event registration fee, we had actually here a main discussion because Ahmed Mahdoub discussed with us about the payment implementation. So we wanted to implement payment for registration fee that students need to pay. He had said we had 2 options to go either with Stripe Sandbox model because it needs SSM documents, and we are nationals, we are foreigners, we are not the locals. So the other one was the PayPal gateway, but it needed extra steps and complicated for payment activities for the students. So we told him after we thought about it, we agreed that we went to Stripe Sandbox as it was agreed by everyone. He also, when he said that he pushed I told him, can you remove the .env file because it's risky and so on, and send this to privately and do those changes. He did, and it worked fine. I also told him that to go with Stripe Sandbox. So for the other task, set up Grok API for event feedback summary. So this task was initially Gemini API. So because as you can see, we had some discussion on a lot of issues here. So Mutaba had some issues making the API key work. I tried to connect it for her, enable it for her, and also send it for her privately, the API key from Google AI Studio as she requested, but it didn't at the end work for her. So she switched to Grok API, as you can see here, current update task. So she switched to Grok API because it was a regional or restriction beyond our control. We told her that it's okay because Grok API did the same functionality that we wanted Gemini API to do. I just told her to fix this issue. As we'll see in the problem solving, she already fixed it. She shared with us the API key privately. Let's go to another story. Allow students to browse and filter events. So after Ahmed did everything, I pulled it and told him, can you change this UI because it looked weird? So I told him what to do. He did this fix, as we will see in the problem solving. And this was also always the status reveal he told us about and communicated with us. We do thumbs up for him. Allow students to register for events, which was also by Ahmed Mahjoub. So as you can see here, Ahmed also did the status reveal that first he did the free ones, and then I tested it, and then I told him no need to show that you've already registered. So he needed to change that. He did. And this was also the status reveal that he always gave us. Let's go to the other story, submit feedback by Mataba. So we can see in this one, when Mataba started, so she pushed the functionality, but she told us that, what do you think, like to do, allow the student to fill up the feedback form for only 3 days after the event has finished, because it cannot be there forever. So we agreed with her. I told her it's better, and I told her to just make an extra change to let the students know how much time they have left, so like to show them a countdown or something. So she did this one, and it works perfect. I said it worked perfectly, but it didn't work for me. So I told her, can you recheck and also add the one that shows that it closes after 3 days? And after that, she did it, as we can see in the latest comment. She finalized the summary. I told her it's working perfectly. Allow organizer heads to view registers and feedback responses, which was done by Metaba also. She told us, do you think you tried this out? I told her yes. Grok AI worked also really good. And then let's go to allow organizer heads to add volunteer positions for their events, which was by me, Lina. So I discussed with them that, do you think I should add edit and delete for the volunteer position, because now it's only add. And then they told me that, so for example, that was suggested a confirmation pop-up. So I discussed with her that, okay, what if like the organizer input something incorrect and only to allow edit if no one has applied yet. So after I thought about it, I went with the suggestion because the students may apply like immediately, it would be confusing for the organizer and so on. So she said it's clear. I went with this implementation. Let's go to the next one. Allow students to apply for open volunteer positions. So after the push the changes, I tested it out. I told her apply the following changes. So these were actually some UI changes, like reusing language toggle, some apply position form screen buttons. They should be next to each other. I told her to change the functional like this, not to show you have already applied for this position after opening the form. Just move it from open to my applications. I also found the bug that I assigned to her. So I will explain about the bug more later. And then we can see that she updated everything. So she fixed it as requested, the UIs, and she also fixed the bug. I also requested additional even exchanges after that to improve still the UI and to confirm my ability should show that which date the event is, because it was unclear which date the event was. Everyone agreed. Let's go to the next story. Allow organizer has to review volunteer applications. So I told them that I finished this. I explained the flow for them. I told them I faced some challenges, like I didn't do the auto reject at first, and also the approval scan didn't update immediately in the same screen. They said they will all test it. They all replied to me. Allow students to view and filter volunteer application status, which was done by Taqwa. So after she did it, I told her I reviewed, but just to remove the duplicated data layer, and she did remove it. Part 8, task distribution. I will group by assigning and explain. So to explain, initially each person had around like 2 stories and 1 or 2 additional tasks. The other additional things that appeared are actually the bugs. So for example, Ahmed didn't have bugs that appeared, but initially each person had 2 stories and 1 task. So you can see that I was assigned 2 stories, add volunteer, review volunteer, and UI UX, and some backend, and then I had 2 additional bugs. So 6 work items. Ahmed Mahjoub had the browse and filter events with highest priority, register for events, and additional Stripe payment backend subtask. He didn't have bugs, that's why it's only 3. Method had 6 work items because she had 2 stories, submit feedback forms, view, register and feedback, and to set up Grok API. And the additional things that appeared are the bugs. 6 work items total. Taqwa had 2 stories, apply and view and filter volunteer application status, and testing tasks. The other ones that appeared are the additional bugs for the problem solving. So we had first discussion in Jira, and then everything was documented in notes of discussion, and everything was fixed pushed to GitHub. So we'll start with this one, the Stripe payment service, because this was the first problem. So we had maybe around like 10 problems or more, detailed problems, but 10 major problems. So this was the first one, the payment implementation. So Ahmed fixed it by using Stripe sandbox mode, and as you can see here, it's this one. Add Stripe payment service for event registration fee that Ahmed already did. And we can go and see the next one, the setup Grok API for event feedback summary. So as you can see, the problem here was mainly the Gemini API keys, which we tried to solve in private by giving her the API key, and so but later she decided to move to Grok API. So everything was documented. And then we can see that Meta already pushed the setup Grok API for event feedback summary. So it was solved. Let's go to the next one. Allow students to browse and filter events. So the main issue here was that I told Ahmed to do this UI fix issue, and we can also see another issue in the register for event that he did was the logic. So I told him that no need to show your already registered, just change that. We can see that this was documented also here, those two, and we can see that Ahmed fixed them exactly here. Ahmed also fixed them here inside this add stripe payment service. So he did the minor fix and he did that by adding many comments. So then we can continue. So we can continue with this problem, QR merit not displayed, which was when submitting the feedback for events. So we can see that I told Mataba that the QR merit is not displayed, and there was also this issue. And there was another issue that any additional feedback and suggestions should be textual field instead of star. So all of this was fixed by Mataba, as you can see here. Custom questions shows the text fields, display merit UTM merit UI by Mataba Hassan. So she also added this 3-day countdown filter, also suggested, and the duplicate comments field from the feedback form. So she did everything that was set. Let's go next. Allow organizer heads to view registrants and feedback responses. This one was okay, no issues. Allow organizer heads to add volunteer positions for their events. So this one has multiple changes because I added the confirmation pop-up that was suggested. So I even added it as a subtask first, and then I added it here. Add volunteer position pop-up confirmation by Lina. Okay, everything was documented. Let's go next with the problem that apply for open positions. So as we can see, the problem was some UI fixes and some bug of the application limit logic. As we can see here, the fixed volunteer application limit. So this one was fixed by Taqwa, where she first did many improvement UIs, as you can see here, and she also improved the volunteer apply form UI as discussed. She also fixed the volunteer application limit and improved the position card. So she did all as was suggested. She added also this event date and so on. Let's move on to the next one. Allow organizers head to review volunteer applications. So this one didn't have any issues. It was just challenges during doing it, but no problems. Allow students to view and filter their volunteer application status. So Taqwa managed to remove the duplicated data files, which was this bug. So we can see that everything was documented. And Taqwa fixed it here, as we will see. Fixed volunteer shared files. This one. And then let's move on to this one. Had no issues, I believe. And these were all the bugs that were actually already fixed. The volunteer defined application, because it was be able to set it after the actual event date. So as we can see here, it's AD132 that was fixed. It's volunteer application deadline validation. I fixed it by Melina. And then we can see this one, as we said, Taqwa already fixed it. This was the Gemini API. We switched to Grok API by Methap already. This was the fixed volunteer application limit, as we said. Taqwa already did it. And then the QR merit, as we said, also Methap already did it. Display UTM merit QR. So all those were documented as well. And then we can see that the final one was the fixed crash when confirming volunteer application rejection, which I changed because Taqwa assigned to me. You can see that it was documented. Solution done. Post frame callback was added, as we will see here. Add post frame back all rejection and fix the volunteer rejection crash. So these were like around 11 problems or even more like in detail that we managed to fix. Thank you very much.